tragedy? What's the craziest tragedy has
You.
experienced in your life? This is not me, but I remember when I was a little kid, I was going out to play with a group of friends, and for some reason, we chose to play near a river, and this river had a little stairs that would let you down to the water, and people usually go down to get water to wash clothes, and at the end of the stairs, it would like be submerged into water, and you know when something is left underwater, there would be little green thing that would grow on it. I searched it up, and it's called green algae. It's super slippery if you steps on it, and then one of my friends stepped on the green part and slipped. He then fell into the water, and mind you, none of us know how to swim back then. We was little, and he was just wriggling around, and the more he do it, the farther he would get. We didn't know what to do except yelling out loud and trying to get people's attention. But luckily, there were two dudes on their motorcycle just happened to be there, and they went down and picked him up and yelled at us for being stupid and just go on their way. We then walked him to his house. He was crying his whole way there. I mean, it was super lucky because it would have turned super bad if those two dudes went there. But now I'ma also talk about some dudes who also survived crazy and big events ever, tragedies.
The dude that survived 2 nuclear bombs.
This is Tsutomu Yamaguchi, August 6, 1945. At 8:15 a.m. in the morning, Yamaguchi was on his way to a Mitsubishi shipyard where he had worked for the past few months to say his final goodbyes because today is his last day working here. But he realized he had forgotten his Hanko unidentification stamp. He then went back to the office to get it. As soon as he got back to the dock, he saw a giant plane flying above his head. He then saw it drop an object that was attached to 2 parachutes.
What is that?
Even though he was about 3 kilometers away, or 1.8 miles, Yamaguchi still got blasted away, and he fainted. The explosion ruptured his eardrums and temporarily blinded him, and his body was severely burned. And after he got up, he then found 2 of his colleagues who also survived. They then spent a night in a shelter, and then 3 days later, despite his injuries, he still went back to work, which is crazy to me. He then told his boss about what happened, and his boss didn't believe him.
No, boss, I'm telling you, it's the truth.
There's no such thing as that. Are you making things up to slack off? You lazy piece of...
As the boss was speaking, a blinding white light filled the room. Another bomb had dropped. Yamaguchi instinctively dove to the floor, and the crazy part is, he was also about 3 kilometers away, or 1.8 miles. And after that, Yamaguchi got something called radiation sickness. His hair fell out, he went bald, and a bunch of other things, but eventually he recovered. He then later passed away at the age of 93.
The dude who survived the sinking of Titanic?
Most people know about the Titanic because of the movie. It grossed over $2 billion, which is still crazy to this day. But it's actually based on a real-life story. The Titanic was known as the unsinkable ship, which is crazy because it sank on the first official trip. And this is Masabumi Hosono, a Japanese dude who was on the ship. He was cruising fine, and at that time, he was sleeping peacefully in his cabin. And then he was woken up by a crew member.
Hey, Japanese dude, the ship is sinking. Get out.
No!
And the ship had a ticket system. You have the first class for the rich people, the second class for the normal people, and the third class for immigrants and workers. And Masabumi got the second class ticket. But by the time he got to the deck, the second class lifeboats were already gone. There was only about 20 lifeboats for over 2,000 people. They weren't prepared for this. And in any emergency situation, they always prioritize women and kids first. So Masabumi was basically done for. But then a crew member yelled out,
Yo, this boat still has 2 slots left.
but still, he didn't even want to go in because he thinks people would shame him for taking that spot. But then he saw a dude jump in, and then he thought of his wife and kids, and he didn't want them to grow up with our father. So he also got in. You think people in his country would welcome him for surviving one of the biggest and craziest tragedies ever. But no, they hated him for that. They hated him for taking that spot and called him a coward for stealing that spot. Why? Because in Japan, honor is everything. Because back when samurai were still around, whenever a samurai got captured by the enemies, he would perform something called seppuku, which basically means ending it all, dying without shame. And that mindset was still healthy in 1912. But they're all talking like that because they're not in his shoes. Masabumi lived the rest of his life in silence and never defended himself publicly because it's pointless. They ain't gonna believe him anyways. And he passed in 1939 still carrying that burden of hate, of hatred. But when the Titanic movie was released in 1997, his family actually shared the letters he wrote while he was still on the lifeboat. The letter is very long, so I'ma keep it short. Basically, it says he heard a crew member shout, "Room for 2 more!" He saw a man jump in and he followed, not to be a coward, but because he couldn't bear his kids growing up without a father. And he didn't feel happy that he lived. He felt miserable and felt like a criminal for being alive, while so many other people didn't. I'ma be honest, I'm never sacrificing my life unless they're my family. They're basically survivor's guilt. He lived and others didn't, so he felt guilty for that. After those letters came out, Japan doesn't think of him as a coward anymore. They think of him as a father who would do anything just to see his kids. As of right now, when making this video, I currently have 0 subscribers. So if you are watching this video right now, please subscribe to me. I'm trying to be rich. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.